How Taiwanese are preparing for a possible China invasion. Welcome to VOA Asia Weekly. I'm Chris Casqueo in Washington. That story just ahead, but first making headlines. Malaysia's highest court has upheld former Prime Minister Najib Razak's corruption conviction and 12-year jail sentence. Najib was found guilty in July 2020 of receiving about $10 million from SRC International, a former unit of the 1MDB development fund he set up shortly after he took power in 2009. Thailand's constitutional court ruled that Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha, a former general who came to power in a 2014 coup, must suspend his active duties while the court decides whether he has overstayed his legal term in office. Under the law, the deputy prime minister would assume the duties. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida said the country will restart more idle nuclear plants and look at developing next-generation reactors, signaling a major policy shift on nuclear energy a decade after the Fukushima disaster. The United Nations Special Envoy on Myanmar visited Rohingya refugee camps as part of a 4-day visit to Bangladesh. 5 years ago, more than 700 Rohingya Muslims fled a brutal Myanmar military clearance operation that the US has labeled genocide. Drying waterways and wilted crops are seen around Chinese megacity Chongqing as an unusually long and intense heat wave and accompanying drought have transformed the landscape. The governor of the U.S. state of Indiana visited Taiwan this week, the third visit from senior U.S. officials this month. As China continues to surround Taiwan with provocative military exercises, Taiwanese citizens are largely staying calm. Some residents, though, are taking steps to prepare in case of war, as VOA's Bill Gallo reports.
These Taipei residents are preparing for the unthinkable, learning how to apply bandages and pack wounds at this civil defense training. Most Taiwanese do not think war will break out anytime soon, but a growing number are preparing in case it does.
I learned how to stop the bleeding, and I learned how to help people, and help me, myself, and help the others.
With the situation in Taiwan at the moment, I think that sense of being ready, just the awareness of being ready, I think it's important.
Taiwanese have dealt with China's threats for decades. Despite that familiarity, some say the current situation is more urgent than ever. Enoch Wu founded Forward Alliance, the NGO running this first aid workshop.
In deterring conflict, it's just as important to have a citizenry that's prepared as it is to have a military that is capable and credible.
Others are taking a more military-focused approach. This course in Taipei prepares civilians for urban warfare.
No one wants a war, but if a war breaks out, you have to get up and fight in order to protect those you love or things and values you care about.
Many Taiwanese have military experience, though not much. Currently, Taiwanese men are required to do just 4 months of basic training. More civilian training is needed for Taiwan's national security, says former top military officer Li Shimin.
So many youngsters, they hate China, they want to protect themselves, but they don't want to stay in the military.
Li proposes a volunteer defense force to train Taiwanese to defend their own families and homes. It may catch on. A growing number of Taiwanese say they'd fight to defend their country. Others simply want to be prepared to help their neighbors in case a war that they don't want breaks out. Bill Gallo, VOA News, Taipei, Taiwan.
Visit our website, voanews.com, for the most up-to-date stories. You're watching VOA Asia Weekly. The United States and South Korea launched their annual military exercises, the biggest joint drills in 5 years after scaled-back operations due to negotiations and the pandemic. The Ulchi Freedom Shield exercises are due to last until September 1st and include field exercises and potentially tens of thousands of troops. While Washington and Seoul say their joint exercises are held for defensive purposes, North Korea says they are meant to be a rehearsal of an invasion. Finally, almost half of the Philippines schools reopened for in-class learning after 2 years of coronavirus lockdowns. More than 27 million students wearing masks headed back to schools across the country, while only about 46% of the country's schools will have in-person classes 5 times a week. The rest will continue a mix of in-person and online classes until November. That's all the time we have here on VOA Asia Weekly. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Chris Casquejo. Please be sure to tune in again next week.